Talking about this case of Mark Dykema. He was sentenced in one county a month ago, sentenced in Kent County today. For anyone who's not familiar with the case, it's one you've been covering for quite a while. Give us kind of the big details.
So, as you said, you know, the person at the center of this case, his name is Mark Dykema. He was a former Biggby franchise owner. He also was a prominent member in Holland's Tulip Time Festival. And he was sentenced nearly a month ago, I believe it was May 19th, today's June 18th, for upskirting in Ottawa County. It's alleged that he was at Lowe's. He would pretend to bump into women, kind of put the phone underneath, you know, skirts, flowy dresses, what have you, and take photos and videos, you know, up their garments. So he was charged in Ottawa County with surveilling an unclothed person, I believe, and some computer crimes. And he was facing, you know, similar charges here in Kent County. It stemmed from the Ottawa County investigation. This time it was, you know, surveilling up women's skirts. I believe there's also a flowy jumpsuit at Trader Joe's in Kentwood, his church that he attended, I believe that's in Wyoming, and then also at his wife's trusted friend since high school at her house. And so he was sentenced to the same sentence in both counties, 180 days. And he was given credit in both those cases, I believe. I don't know the credit off the top of my head, but yeah, 180 days plus credit on both of those counties.
And the interesting thing, though, is that it was a 180 day sentence a month ago for Ottawa County, and this additional 180 day sentence is running at the same time, correct? So
Correct, they're concurrent.
It's not going to be additional, it's concurrent.
Yeah, it's concurrent. And it seems like when you line up, you know, the credit for time served in both the counties, there was 3 cases in each county, kind of given, you know, the same sentence. He pled no contest in both counties to the overall, you know, six cases that had some charges in there. But it seems like when you line up at the, you know, end of it, you line up the 180 days with time served, it seems like, you know, there's no additional time there. He's getting out at the same time roughly for both Ottawa and Kent.
And no contest, again, we've talked about this before, but that's basically, you're not admitting to be guilty, you're not admitting to be, you know, not guilty, you're really just kind of a neutral stance is what that means.
Correct.
And you were obviously in court today listening to the judge speak, listening to the accused speak, listening to a victim talk. We've got a couple of bites from, you know, those people speaking today. Let's play those. Take a listen.
This is a person who apparently violated some trust, but also a person who's got a lot of life ahead of him.
The things that he is charged with today only scratch the surface of the damage and pain he has caused my family and me. He admitted that he put cameras in our bathroom and bedroom, but this is not part of the evidence generated by the investigation. We will never know the answer, but I can't help but wonder if images of my husband and kids were also caught on these cameras.
That if any man finds himself in a position where he thinks, I have a small problem I can control, you're lying to yourself.
I think you've made some bad decisions, and I think you accept that. I think you've harmed a lot of people that you probably didn't intend to harm, but that was the result of your actions.
Obviously, that was just a fragment of what was heard at the sentencing today. Any other pieces of what was said by any of those 3 people that you wanted to elaborate on?
So just wanted to point out, I know when the victim's statement was being read, it was focused on the hands. The victim, I do not know if she was in the courtroom or not, that spoke, and we're not identifying her for, you know, privacy reasons, her name, but she is, you know, the friend who is alleged to be, you know, in the Kent County cases. And she did not read her own statement. Someone else read her statement before the court for her. She's felt like even though Dykema never placed his hands on her, that it was comparable to her as sexual assault. She feels very violated. She says her family feels violated. And one piece that we learned, you know, through her statement that was not in the court documents that we were able to get is she's alleging that while he was allegedly in their home when they were on vacation, he was putting cameras up to surveil probably her in their house. And she was like, I'm so afraid that, you know, my husband, our kids were on, you know, the camera. And she said that it's really ruined her relationship with her friend. She says it's ruined her relationship even going to her church that she's attended for a long time. Her has also effects on her family. Another thing I want to touch on is from the judge. You know, the judge was stressing, you know, that Dykema is 40 years old. He has a lot of life to live, and he's hoping that he uses that time that he has to get better, to apologize to people, and to make rights in the community. He said even though you can apologize to people, it doesn't necessarily mean they'll accept that apology. But he was kind of stressing, you know, once Dykema does get out of jail, again, not prison, it's 180 days, that's a jail sentence,
right.
That he really tries to make things up to the community, and he said especially to his church community.
Gotcha. Well, you know, at this point, this case, you know, is the first case closed, this case now closed. So, you know, we move on from this, but we appreciate you covering this story for many months now at this point. Of course, if anything else were to come of it, we know you'd have us covered, Callie. All right, we're going to take a quick